bodily functions.
All right. Well, we are live with it now, so I'll make sure that I get this shared over to your page, Colby. For those that are jumping in, want to introduce a friend of mine, Colby. Now, Colby, I got to meet you a couple years ago through a mutual friend of ours, Matt,
Yep.
that I went to high school with. And then small world, we tend to know, kind of a lot of the same people. So give us a little bit of background. Tell me about who is Colby Knepp other than a rock star rugby player, right?
Yeah, man. I had a short stint playing rugby. That was in my younger days. Played with the Glendale Raptors, but nowadays, man, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a men's health coach. Really specialize and focus in on behavior change. And so, what I mean by that specifically is, we all kind of know what to do logically when it comes to getting in shape and eating healthy. It's pretty crystal cut. But actually doing it and changing behaviors is what matters. And so how I have kind of differentiated or really actually dove in was realizing that no amount of information can actually create a change. It has to come from understanding motivations and understanding habits and patterns. And we can go deep in some of this stuff. But ultimately, man, it's about changing behaviors and picking the behaviors that are in alignment with the goals that you want to achieve and the outcomes. No different than business, Matt, I'm sure for you in real estate, prospecting, networking, developing good relationships are all the things that you want because that's what's going to get you new business. And so, having conversations, those are all things that you can go and control every single day. And if you do them with enough consistency, you're probably going to get more customers and more clients and earn more money and build your business. And so health and fitness is no different. It really comes down to having a vision for the future of what you want your health to be. And ultimately figuring out how to outsmart the behaviors, if you will, the patterns and the habits that might be limiting your success. And so that's what I do. I've got a background in kinesiology. I've got a CrossFit level 2 certificate, all these different CEUs, continuing education. But ultimately, man, I just love digging into people's psychology and helping them create their own breakthroughs in their health and in their fitness.
Yeah, it's I love watching the videos, and you do a lot of videos on your page, with segments that you're passionate about and connecting in with folks. And it's amazing. And as I've gotten to study a lot more business over the last 6.5 years, it's amazing how much business is tied back to not only my physical health, but my mental health. And we can't really separate those two. If I want to have the best overall life, well, ultimately, there's 7 buckets that I need to pay attention to, and my spiritual well-being, my physical well-being, those are all connected into and have a direct impact on my financial well-being and my relationships and my bank account, right?
Totally.
So, and you're a married man, and you've got 2 kids.
2 boys. Yeah, 2 boys. You are a realtor, obviously, right, Matt? I'm actually sitting on the patio of the home that you helped us to acquire. It's interesting, man. There's a model that I operate in coaching. It's called Deep Health. And Deep Health, the gist of it is that everything's connected, right? There's multiple different facets or layers of what a healthy life looks like. For far too long, the fitness media has really pushed this narrative that if you want to be healthy, you have to be lean. If you want to be healthy, you have to be a bodybuilder or a fitness competitor, or even more recently, you have to do CrossFit or be a CrossFit competitor, right? They kind of set this extreme example. But ultimately, developing what's called deep health is about balancing the social side, your relationships, your friends, your family. Another one that a lot of coaches don't talk about is the existential side, right? I refer to this as kind of the spiritual side, having a purpose and a meaning beyond just like having a job, and making money, something bigger than you. Ultimately, this is what creates a lot in behavior change is figuring out purpose and meaning and like kind of a deep spiritual alignment, whatever that means for you. But also the physical side, man, being nourished, staying active, consuming, healthy oxygen and drinking clean water and getting some movement in. There's the mental and the emotional side, which with the lockdown, a lot of people's outlet at the gym or even public parks was taken away. And a lot of my clients were asking, like, what the hell do I do? So number one, it was an opportunity to learn some new skills and really figure out how can I operate in this new, I hate to call it the new normal, but as things are coming back. But it is crucial, man. The mental side, our operating system, our beliefs, our habits, our identity, it's all up here. And so to think that health and fitness is just one, is not related. I can tell you from personal experience and working with a lot of high achieving entrepreneurs, health is wealth. And when a person can get healthy and have the energy and self-confidence to show up big every single day, the potential really is limitless. It's quite incredible when somebody's energy is aligned physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, all in the same direction.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, a lot of folks in your world, right, had to go through the stages of grief in a hurry with everything that changed, right? And again, as a generalization, people don't like change. Yeah. So when change was forced upon us and the world really, kind of got shut down, a lot of people's outlets really just went away. Now, I was more recently attending Orange Theory, which is, it's a lot of high energy and burning calories. Well, it's a class size of 43, 45 people. And it's hard to have social distancing when you have that many people in a small space. So, things got shut down. Definitely affecting my morning. And I found myself waking up and saying, well, gosh, I don't know what I'm going to be doing next. Right. I don't know what I'm doing. And, thank God, I think my CrossFit competition days are behind me, because now I can sort of, take it easy a little bit and not go to the extreme as to what I was doing before. But, let's go a little granular on this as to what you're seeing with the new norm, right? Because gyms are opening back up, and yet they're not opening in the same capacity. And maybe I had a membership at a CrossFit affiliate or a spin class or a bar class or whatever. Talk to me about just kind of what you're seeing there and kind of some tangible things that people can take and move forward. Because if I'm nervous about going back to the gym because of COVID-19, or my gym's not quite opening at the same capacity, that's not an excuse just to have a snow day for the next 12 months and not work on ourselves, not get the exercise that we need.
Totally. 100%. So the first kind of agreement, and I'm just reflecting on number one, how I went through this whole process, losing my outlet in jiu-jitsu, losing my outlet in lifting weights. I just put all of my physical energy into riding my bike. Man, I signed up for a crazy long bike race. Secretly, I'm kind of glad it got canceled. It was a triple bypass. It's a 120-mile bike ride. And on my first long day, doing 5 hours, which was probably about half the time it would have taken me to do the actual event, I was like ready, to not do it anymore. When it got canceled, I was actually secretly, and I guess now publicly, pretty happy that it did. But now what I've learned from that is that I really enjoy being outside riding my bike. I just love it. It's pleasurable. It can be as challenging or as easy as I want it to be. And so, one of the things that I've been kind of advising my clients on is just asking the questions to help them understand what it is that they value. And what I mean by that is a lot of them are in the gym, and we all do it for different reasons. Some of us strictly just want to lose weight. It's like, you know what? I feel unhealthy and I just want to lose 10 to 15 pounds. And little secret here is that you can't out-exercise any sort of overconsumption of calories. And so it actually comes down to changing eating behaviors versus more exercise. We can dive into that a little bit later. But honestly, dude, it really is about finding a daily movement practice that leaves you feeling renewed, leaves you feeling refreshed, and leaves you feeling like you learned something new or you were challenged in some new and novel way. And so, like I mentioned earlier, jiu-jitsu filled in this gap, or continues to, now that things are opening back up. But, similar to you, I was competing in CrossFit, and once rugby was done, CrossFit was my thing. And CrossFit, went in way too fast and just kind of burned myself out in the first 2 or 3 years, which like a lot of people do, because it's so high intensity and the music's loud and everybody's just sprinting and racing, and it's super fun. But I ended up just shooting all my emotional bullets, and then, I was basically just running on empty for the last year. Jiu-jitsu came into my life in a place where I was ready to learn, where I was ready to be a beginner. And it's awesome, man. Now it's just a part of my weekly rhythm that I just really look forward to and love, and see some of the same faces. And my sister, man, I just feel for her because she's an extrovert and she's got her people. She sees her friends at the gym. There's like a social component to it, and so some of my clients have like gotten together groups to just do park workouts, and they text each other and they schedule the time, and they just kind of make shit up from what they know of doing the workouts, so part of it is, I'd say understanding what you value and coming to terms with like, okay, yeah, I really do value health, and I really do value having good energy levels and taking care of myself. Because once you begin to understand what it is that you value, it's really easy to figure out what the behavior is, what it is that I need to do in order to make myself feel good. And so there was a brief period there when we didn't really know how long this thing was going to last here in Colorado, where people were like really uncertain, and there was a lot of stress. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of overwhelm. I went from having an income to not having an income overnight, which was terrifying. And I was angry for, 3 or 4 days until I was like, well, I have really valuable skills, so I can still coach people about their nutrition. And I'm telling you, man, this has totally evolved my business and totally transitioned our lifestyle. So it's been a humongous blessing when it could have been the downfall of my marriage, losing an income and figuring all that out. So we just rolled with it, man. But, I think like some actionable advice is find something that you enjoy. Number one, that is just fun, because consistency is the only thing that actually matters, and that you develop some sort of healthy and consistent rhythm around exercise and movement. I had a client recently who was similar to me, was really just bored with CrossFit. He's like, I don't like this anymore. I'm just dragging myself to the gym and I'm just suffering through these workouts. And after taking a few weeks off, he ended up picking up a new sport, a new activity. And I pushed him into jiu-jitsu, and he loves it. And so it worked out really well, And so
that's a push and pull relationship in jiu-jitsu,
man.
Right? I mean, that's the whole premise of it.
It really is. It is. So, the point is, number one, at the foundation of health and fitness is just being able to be consistent with the behaviors. And when you break down consistency, one of the most important elements is fun, enjoyment, right? It's got to be enjoyable for you to keep showing up, right? And so, man, spike ball is another one that I really enjoy. Have you ever played spike ball?
I played it, I think, once or twice. I think, last time we were out with friends, we'll say we were social distancing, but spike ball came up in the backyard.
Yeah.
Now, it's something that I'd want to play more of, and just, from some body pain issues, right? Just kind of limited, and, but love the spike ball. You said something that I want to go a little bit deeper on, and you said it's about having fun. And I've heard about this study around top level performers, and I think they studied concert pianists specifically. Mm-hmm. And what they had found was it wasn't that these top level pianists had any special, God-given ability to play the piano, mm-hmm. or that they just were a savant or a prodigy at a young age. It was actually that they had a piano teacher at a young age that helped them fall in love with it, that just had fun with them, right? And it was the consistency around having fun that led to the skills that came from somewhere else. And, when I talk to a lot of people about fitness, and no secret, I have some experience in fitness, not nearly the student that you became with it, but I was good at picking up heavy stuff and putting it back down.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, that's the best kind of learning, is firsthand experience, to be frank.
Yeah. And when I talk to some people about it, the conversation that aren't into it or have never been into it, the conversation is, well, one, I don't know where to start, or I don't know what to do, or I don't want to be embarrassed when I go to the gym, and I don't want to look foolish. And I think, we as a society, we got to get pass this and understand that it's okay to look like the novice. You don't get to walk in and look like the expert on day one because you don't have that experience. And yet that experience comes over time. So one, find something that you're going to commit to that's fun, that gets your heart rate up, that gets the endorphins going, right? And then take it from there. It's about baby steps. I can't walk into the gym and all of a sudden be at 6% body fat and have a 600-pound deadlift.
Right.
Which was never as much as I was in the gym, I was never in those realms, right? I never had a 6% body fat, never could deadlift.
You know what,
too,
man? It's a trade-off too. Again, I think that, and I'm just speaking from my own perspective here, but talking with a lot of clients in my own journey, the fitness media, social media and fitness magazines and trainers and P90X, like Beachbody, all these before and after transformation marketing, the marketing machine that is fitness, really creates kind of a false expectation of what fitness should be, frankly. Now, there's a big movement. CrossFit shift this a lot, right, into what can your body do? What are you capable of? Not so much about how do I look, right? So I grew up in loving hardcore bodybuilders, Ronnie Coleman, Jay Cutler, watching those guys just roided to the gills. And I'm like, man, I could probably be like that one day, until I actually learned, number one, that wouldn't make me happy, healthy, or anything. And number two, that takes an insane amount of dedication and commitment. And the cost those men are willing to pay to reach that level is more than I'm willing to pay, frankly. So it's a trade-off, right? Like if a person wants to be able to, let's say a typical client I work with, male, probably around 20 to 25% body fat, married, kids, full-time job, has a lot on their plate, right? Fitness is now this other thing because either their wife's telling them they're getting fat, or their buddies are making fun of them, or they just look in the mirror, they're like, okay, I need to lock it down. And so during our consultation, we talk about expectations. Like, okay, well, how much weight do you want to lose? Why is that important? Where did that number come from? Typically, the number is associated with a time in their life when they weighed that, when they felt their best. And so pulling apart the number and the feeling is this whole nother game that we go into. But you can make progress in health and fitness and body composition, in strength and in performance, while still being able to enjoy alcohol every so often, while still being able to eat pizza and have candy and get drunk and stay up late. You don't have to live like a total monk and have this total strict Spartan lifestyle if you want to make progress. Although your progress will be faster, it's not going to be as enjoyable. And so for a lot of clients, it's figuring out what is their vision of health and fitness. What is it that they really want? Not what have they been told. What is it that they want for themselves? And figuring out that compelling, motivating vision, and then working backwards. Like, okay, well, here we are today. What are you willing to change? What are you not willing to change? And let's just work there. Ultimately, what I find is once a client starts to get results and they start to feel like, oh my God, I can actually do this. I'm becoming a fit person, quote unquote, and then all of a sudden their values shift a little bit. Instead of going out and partying with the boys and drinking too many beers, they're going to bed at 8:00 so they can wake up early and go on a run or go ride their bike. And then they get to the office early and just crush the first half of the day, because these are the things I think that really make us, feel rewarded and feel like we're making progress in life. And you mentioned fun. I just can't double down on this enough. If it's not fun, with health and fitness, you got to find something that is, because you're going to be somewhere in 10 years, right? You'll be at a point in 10 years, if you're lucky, you're still alive. Why not enjoy the process? Why not have fun doing it? It doesn't have to be this terrible thing. You don't have to lift weights. You don't have to go do CrossFit. You don't have to do Orange Theory. You don't have to do jujitsu, right? And I've had to really come to terms in my own thinking around this, because I had this belief for the longest time that I had to lift weights and I had to do hard conditioning and in order to get results. And that's just not true. That's just not true. And more that I focus in on helping people with nutrition, the more I realize nutrition is 99% of the equation for body composition and for weight loss. Now, when it comes to energy levels, stress release, self-confidence, exercise has a host of benefits. But strictly when it comes to weight loss, which is what people typically come to me for, it's all about healthy eating.
Yeah, my wife told me this many years ago, because I'll be transparent. my diet was the worst part of my fitness, and it always has been because I was a picky eater to begin with. So my filter for food was, do my taste buds like it? Then I'll eat it. Which,
Pass. Yeah, good.
again, rice or Reese's peanut butter cups, those always pass the list, right? I mean, they're
Yeah, dude.
phenomenal, right?
Yep.
Double stuffed Oreos and ice cream, I
Oh,
love.
yeah.
So way too much sugar in my diet, which is another conversation. But it was her comment to me was, abs are made in the kitchen, and it's about the diet, and it's about
Yeah.
what you eat and what you put into your body more so than trying to out train a bad diet. So, could I have been a much better CrossFitter and football player and all the things that I did if I had a better diet? Without a doubt.
Yep.
So as we look at kind of the new norm, and again, I hate to call it the norm, but it is the
Yeah.
life that we're in. This isn't a snow day. It is a new season that we're in. And hopefully, one, I want people to be healthy, right? You got to take care of yourself. But two, as the world starts to open back up, tell me a little bit about kind of what you're doing or having clients do today that 6 months ago probably wasn't an issue, but today maybe my gym's not open or I'm not comfortable to go back to the gym. What am I doing?
Good question. Man, so things are opening up. Use my sister as an example, right? Like she needs, like at her core, her personality needs to be in a social environment. So for me to tell her, okay, Katie, you need to like go in your garage and just lift weights by yourself. She's not going to do that. She'll try it for a day because she's like, okay, I'm motivated. I really do want to change. But that's not the right environment or the right alignment for what she needs or who she is. I'm fine being by myself. I can go on bike ride for 5 hours and just be alone in my thoughts, and I'm cool with that. I prefer that. So, gosh, I don't know, man. It's like, I'd say number one, if you're high risk, right? So if you have a history of heart disease, diabetes, or any sort of metabolic disorder, take your time. Like, don't be in any rush to get back into the gym because it's still this weird experiment. We don't actually know what's going to happen. And so I can really empathize with that person who might be a little hesitant to get back into, quote unquote, a normal routine. And so I'd say minimum, like go for a walk, like just spend more time, part of your day in reflection. Maybe start your day with I call it walking university, throw in your favorite podcast, go on a walk. And like you're number one, you're up leveling your mindset and your knowledge. And you're also like getting your heart rate elevated, breathing some fresh air, and setting up the context for your day appropriately. But even beyond that, developing a really strong a morning routine, I call it a personal success ritual, a series of steps or a flow that you kind of take to start your day is really going to set the context of the day the right way. And so I'm sure we all can relate and have had the experience of having a morning where like nothing goes right. You wake up late, you're like jamming coffee down your throat, eating a croissant, stopping to pick up food, then you realize your gas tank is on empty and you're already late and it's just this nightmare of a morning, right? You get to work, you're already pissed and it's just a terrible day, right?
Yeah,
And then
kids aren't cooperating. You fight with your
totally.
spouse, right? You break a shoelace, whatever that might be.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like most people like start their day kind of in a rush, and I understand it. And it starts back, it's a rhythm and it's a pattern, and there's these things you can zoom out and begin to identify. But ultimately, if you can express a little bit of willpower over the first or control rather over the first 30 minutes to the hour of your day by getting up even just a little bit earlier to maybe take some time in reflection and journal and just like check in with your mental health, right? That's really powerful because again, it's not just about physical fitness. That's one component. It's really important. As a matter of fact, one of the best ways to renew or reset your emotional state is to get your heart rate elevated, right? This is like a really well-known fact. We all know it intuitively. When we do it, we feel better. But there's other ways like journaling and reflecting, like calling a friend, checking in on a loved one. These are all things that will make you feel really good and make you feel kind of whole and connected. And so, just developing a really strong routine in the morning and doing it every day to the point where it becomes second nature is really what I would call like a high leverage, high return investment of your time, where you're taking this resource of your willpower and your time and you're directing it, doing behaviors that are going to pay you dividends for the rest of your life. The way I'll frame this to clients is, okay, we'll go through a brainstorming exercise. What would be some components of a perfect morning for you? And it would be like, a healthy breakfast, some exercise, some time with my wife and my kids, and maybe a little bit of time to set up my day, to journal or to plan my day. I'm like, awesome. What if you could do that every single morning for the rest of your career? Would it be better, the same, or worse? And ultimately they're like, oh my God, it'd be incredible.
Yeah.
I'd be able to achieve my goals in my 10-year goals in 5 years or something crazy like that. And so the cool part about the human brain is that we can actually consciously program in behaviors, patterns, and routines, but it takes some time. It takes 30, 40, 50 days of doing the thing consciously. Ultimately, people get bored, they get distracted, or they forget. And those are the things that kind of keep us. So if something's fun, if something's enjoyable, and if you can keep yourself doing it, you're going to program that pattern into your brain so that you're going to be pulled to do the behavior versus having to like make yourself do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no joke. You know, we look at the science behind habits and creating habits, and research is pretty clear. On average, it takes about 66 days. Now, some habits are easier to build and some habits are harder. That average number is 66. And what we're looking for is a point of automaticity, right?
Yep.
I just wake up and it becomes my routine. It just becomes what I do. I no longer have to think about it. It now feels weird when I don't do it.
Yep.
Right. And now I don't have to bring any more willpower to it. There's a quote that I love that says, people do not decide their future. They decide their habits, and their habits decide their future. So as we create a simple habit of a morning routine, that has a long-lasting impact and ultimately creates what I've learned as the halo effect. If I create this good morning routine and I create one positive habit here, it ultimately grows into and affecting the other things around me, right? Totally. I'm making better financial decisions. I'm making better relationship decisions. I'm making better decisions in business and work and whatever that might be, right? The dishes don't pile up in my sink because I've been getting up in the morning, right?
Yeah.
Whatever that is, it's that halo effect that you got to love and appreciate when you establish one routine.
Dude, it's low-hanging fruit that impacts, like, for the results that a good morning routine yields from the effort you put in. It's a no-brainer. It's like, I don't know, buying Facebook at $10, right? If you had the opportunity, if you could buy Amazon at $10, it's like, oh yeah, I'd do that. Hell yeah, I'd do that, right? And then here, I don't know what the stock price is today. I'm not in the stock market, but it's investing in your morning routine, and there's multiple dimensions, right? For some people, maybe it's just physical and they just want to go work out real hard and that makes them feel their best. That's great. I like to be a little more, multi-dimensional, if you will. There's a little bit of spiritual work. There's some reflection and some emotional work. There's texting some of my closest people in my life and just like expressing a little bit of gratitude, because then, dude, it just sets the frame for the entire day. I'm able to show up for my clients. I'm able to show up in my own training. I'm able to stay consistent. I'm able to stay ahead of some of the bad routines and the bad patterns that exist in my life. So for the effort invested, man, it's like developing a rock solid morning routine yields disproportionate results, if that makes sense.
Without a doubt, right? I always struggled working out in the afternoon. My morning routine had to be that. I had to get it done in the morning because the day went wonky. Who knows what happened with my schedule the rest of the day with real estate, with business. So working out after work never seemed to happen. And I'm a bit of an introvert. People are surprised to typically learn that about me. So my wife, we have this joke. I get home at the end of the day and I don't really want to talk because I've used up all my words, right? My word content for the day has gone, right? So that morning routine was essential for me to be.
I'm like you, man. I'm like you. I'd much rather, be alone with a book or reflecting quietly or just in a small group, If I get in front of big groups, and this is what burned me out coaching CrossFit, I was, in a room of 40 people, 8 hours a day, I'd see 400 different people in a day at some point, right? It's just crazy. And I would just come home and my wife's like, what's wrong? I'm like, I don't know. I'm such a bad husband. It's not true. I'm an introvert and I needed some downtime. And eventually she learned that, and there's this social component of health. And part of it is understanding each other's personalities, right? Like I'm sure you and your wife have got to a point where when maybe she needs some more love and attention, or when to back off. Like, oh, you need some space. Cool. It doesn't mean anything on our relationship. You just need some space.
Well,
So
she learned that a whole lot faster than I did.
same,
You've met my
still
wife.
learning.
She's way smarter than I am. I'm a slow learner.
That's funny.
As it comes to that. We were chatting just before we jumped on live um, about some of the mental pieces around it, around kind of what's gone on and the changes. And I can't remember the exact wording or phrase that you had, but I'd love to talk more about that because, again, as I learn more about the science of this stuff, it really gets me excited about what it is that we can control in our life and
Yep.
move forward. So
Are you
let's
talking
talk a
about
little more about
maybe like stress coping, like coping mechanisms and stuff like
yeah,
that?
absolutely. So
Yeah.
you're talking about, because for some folks, unfortunately, this season in their life, with what's going on with not just the coronavirus, but everything that's going on with the protests and everything else, there is stress right now. The world it seems like an unstable place,
It
an
seems like,
unfriendly
right? Like,
place, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um, and not, I mean, if you look for the goodness, you're going to find overwhelmingly there's a lot of great things
Yeah.
happening in this world. If you listen to the news and watch all the social media, you're not going to believe that.
It's
But
weird,
let's
man.
talk about the
Yeah.
stress and the coping,
Yeah.
as far as what's happening.
So a coping mechanism, just some like preamble here. A coping mechanism is any behavior, anything that we engage in that is intended to numb, to avoid, or to otherwise check out, right? Video games could be healthy and normal. Video games can be a coping mechanism. Alcohol can be healthy and normal. Alcohol can also easily turn into a coping mechanism. Pornography, food, relationships, right? There's drugs, right? Humans,
Yeah.
we essentially, if you zoom out and just like, it's kind of a weird idea, but just like zoom out and just watch people, and just observe. And I'm just watching these cars drive by here. Everybody's up and we're like pursuing these things. We're trying to get our needs met. We want to, make money. We want to make sure we have food. We want to make sure we have shelter. We want to make sure that we have love, and we want to make sure we have connection and purpose and meaning at some of the higher levels. And so at a real high level, we go into our day basically with a checklist of needs that we need to get met. And when those needs go unmet, it brings up some really uncomfortable feelings, guilt, shame, unworthiness, loneliness, tired, hunger, all these different things. And oftentimes, either consciously or unconsciously, we can develop in an effort to not feel those things. So in the short term, right, it's actually kind of a benefit because I'm stressed and I'm tired and my boss is being a dick. And so I'm going to eat gummy bears, and I'm going to eat all the gummy bears until I don't feel anything, And what I just learned yesterday about shame and about emotion is that when we try to numb those negative feelings, we also numb the positive. We numb the happiness, the gratitude, the joy, the pleasure, right? And so it's a real sneaky double-edged sword when we start to do those things. And so the first thing to do is like zoom out and take off the holier than thou cap and be like, we all have our shit. We all have something that we choose to cope with, that we use to cope with our existence, whatever that is, right? And
Gummy bears, cheeseburgers.
That was my thing. Junk food and gummy bears was my thing for probably, I'm not even kidding, probably 2.5 years of my life. We were just going through buying this house. I was working at this new startup. I was taking a break from coaching. I was totally misaligned in a lot of areas, and I didn't want to deal with those feelings. And so on the way home from work every night, I would stop and buy this little gas station. I remember like the little Hispanic lady would probably still recognize me to this day. I'd get a big bag of gummy bears, bro, and just like listen to the radio and eat gummy bears on the way home, and everything was good. Then I'd order pizza, and it became this downward cycle. And so there's nothing inherently bad about gummy bears or pizza. It's all about the application of how we use it. And so these coping mechanisms come out in really hard, challenging times. Some of them last a day. Some challenging times last a week. Some last years. So we don't really know where this whole lockdown COVID thing's going. The media is telling us they're already using the word second wave, right? So maybe this is coming. I have no idea. One of the best things that a person can do is, number one, just first of all, zoom out and accept, like, okay, cool. Yeah, I've got this thing. No judgment. Don't make it weird. Don't shame yourself. Just know that it is serving you in some capacity, right? This is key in nutrition coaching. A lot of the reason people are overweight and unhealthy is because their eating habits, and they don't really know, pretty often they're using food as a coping mechanism. And so there's like a lot of psychological behavioral stuff we talk about. So zoom out. First of all, just accept, okay, I have this thing. I eat too much junk food, I drink too much alcohol, and it's actually impacting other areas of my life. From there, you can just kind of observe the trigger, the response, and the behavior. And oftentimes we go right from trigger to feeling to behavior without actually taking into account if those feelings are even valid. Side tangent here, we often, the emotions that we learn from different things are often learned when we're younger, and it's now almost automatic. So somebody cuts me off in traffic, instantly I think he's trying to kill me and kill my family, and so I'm angry and I want to punch him, right? That's not it. It might have been somebody who's in a rush, who missed their turn, they thought they had time, but they miscalculated, right? Weird example, but I go right from trigger to fuck you. Like, I'm going to get in a fight. Sorry for the language. But that's it. That's what we do, man. We get triggered, right?
Yeah.
You read something online, somebody who has a totally different view on politics, you get triggered, and right away you start typing and reacting emotionally. And so the best thing a person can do in these times is be aware of their media use and how it's impacting their moods, right? It's really easy for this device, this phone that I have set up here, to really become a coping mechanism, to check in with social media. Oh, I'm feeling bored. Let me just check this real quick. And we do it compulsively hundreds of times a day, right? And so no weirdness, no shame, just like observe and be like, why am I doing this? This is weird. And then just set some boundaries, right? Just set some healthy boundaries. So for me, this was a thing for me where I'd just be like in line at Starbucks, or I'd be, waiting at a traffic light. Let me just check in on Facebook and see what's happening with my content. Let me see what my friends are saying. And ultimately, it's such a bad use of my attention to be doing that, right? It could be anything, man. It could be, real common one is food. So we'll go there. I was right when the lockdowns happened. Let's go back to like pre-riots, pre-lockdown, toilet paper shortage. Remember that time? Right?
It seems like forever ago, right? And it was just, dude, it was March, right?
It was March. Yeah, it was right before Colorado shut down. I remember like having this feeling of like, I don't know how to feel right now. Do I need to go out and buy toilet paper? There's this degree of fear, right? And I never, ever buy bags of cookies or treats to bring back to my house, ever. That's just not what we do. And if I want those things, I just go pick them up. Yeah. I don't bring them back home because I'll just eat them. That's just how this whole game works.
You just eat them on the car ride home.
So exactly. Yeah. So they don't make it in the house. Yeah. We're taking a trip for Father's Day this week, and all week my wife Ashley's been like, we got to go pick up snacks. And I'm like, wait till the day before we leave. Because if you do it now, I promise you they're going to be gone. They're going to be gone. Yeah. Luckily, she listened, and we don't have that. So I remember I was going through Walmart. I'm doing my usual grocery shopping, and like something caught my eye. I think I saw a bag of like salt and vinegar chips. I was like, I'll just, it's a weird time. Let me just buy some of these. And it was gummy bears, and it was Oreos. And I'm like, what am I doing? I didn't judge it. I just did it. And I ate all the candy, and then felt bad about myself for a while and got over it. You know what I mean? But now I was walking through Walmart yesterday, going grocery shopping again. And I just laughed. I paused. I was like, man, what a weird thing that I did. I don't know where that came from. Right. Yeah. So we all do it. We all have these things. And part of it is just like being mindful and being aware that you're doing it. And honestly, dude, awareness brings its own change 99% of the time. There's some deeper stuff. Like if there's trauma associated with it, you got to dig in and just understand the trauma. You don't have to heal it. You can just understand it. And that'll help quite a bit. But, man, it's a stressful time. And so if you're listening and you're using something in a way that has become unhealthy, I want you to know it's totally normal. Your brain is actually wired to do that. It's called a reward circuit. And essentially the way that it works is you have a feeling, or your brain wants to go out and get these needs met. It wants to be fed, it wants to make sure you survive, make sure you want to have companionship and reproduce and have all these different things. And the brain learns, oh, well, when I eat brownies, I feel good. Like it tastes good. I feel pleasure. And then I don't feel the other things. And so then we're smart. Our brain also learns that, well, gummy bears will probably do the same thing. Oh, well, pizza will probably do the same thing, right? And so there's endless ways. And then compounding on human psychology is the availability of these foods. They're hyper processed, they are hyper rewarding, and they actually hijack our brain's satiation signal that says, hey, I've had enough, I'm good. Good example here is it's almost impossible to overeat kale and chicken breast. Like I've never met somebody who's like, man, I ate so much kale last night. You know what I mean? I don't have any vegan friends. Maybe it's something vegan people do, but
a little bit of kale is too much for me. My wife
Yeah.
could eat chicken breasts every day. Like my taste buds, again, I like the variety. So I guess it would depend on how that chicken breast is cooked. Just, boiled, gross,
dude,
chicken
barbecue
breast.
for me is a food I number one consciously will overeat. Like I just love it. I love it to the point where, it's probably once a month thing where I'm like, let's get down. I'm going to go eat like 6 pounds of brisket and a couple ribs, and I'm not going to move for 2 days. But we're all broken in some way.
So there's and if I remember correctly, I read this in the book, The Power of Habit, by Charles Duhigg.
Yeah.
Yep. And he talks about those 3 pieces around a habit, right? You've got the trigger, you've got the habit itself, and then the reward.
Yep.
And the key for changing a habit was ultimately to identify the trigger and to keep the reward the same, and just to change the habit in the middle. So, if I find that I, smoke cigarettes when I'm bored, what's another activity that I could do when I'm bored that accomplishes what the smoking accomplishes, right? That changes that habit. Or, I find myself bored and eating, right?
Yep.
Clearly boredom is my trigger for a lot of things, right? not a smoker, but eating's definitely one of them, right? I open up the refrigerator 10 minutes after I just ate something else. I'm like, what am I doing?
Out of boredom.
But finding the trigger and identify the reward so that you can alter that habit ultimately, right?
Totally. And then you get to change the behavior. You get to change the actual the thing that you do. Again, mindfulness number one is just being aware that you have a cycle, you have a pattern, and then trying to get awareness of the trigger. What are the things that are triggering me to want this thing, right? For some people, it might be an environment, like they're in a really toxic or like a real, negative work environment, and the same people they see, they just don't like it for whatever reason. That could trigger them to overeat or to go to cigarettes or do whatever. For a lot of people with tobacco use, with cigarettes, there are substances that are actually chemically addictive, right? Methamphetamine, heroin, crack, pot, not so much. I think that's pretty well researched. Like cannabis can develop a behavioral dependency, but not an actual chemical dependency, right? So that's a real thing, right? So like if you know that nicotine is your thing, know that about yourself. You are chemically addicted to nicotine, but that's also different than the behavior. So for a lot of times they're just tired, right? They just need to like take a break and let their brain chill out for a little bit. I don't smoke cigarettes, so I couldn't speak to that as a user, but as a coach, I do have clients who have tried and successfully been able to quit using tobacco, just by better understanding their trigger, better understanding like their default way of operating. 99% of what we do on any given day is automatic and routine. It's a survival mechanism. It's why humans are able to thrive and survive and build, incredible cities, is because we can put our conscious willpower into, that project we're working on, and not where the hell am I going to get my food today? You know what I mean? Because it's automatic. It's just we're at the point now, which is actually really awesome, but also kind of detrimental, that I could just right after this hit a button and have 10 pounds of Oreos at my house in about 30 minutes. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. It requires 0 calories and 0 output on my part, but I can disproportionately be rewarded, for really doing nothing. So it is a really weird time that we live in.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's so much is just automatic. It's on demand. The effort and the energy you had to put out, not quite there. So as we kind of direct, our dialogue here real quick, as we get close to wrapping up, and truth be told, I've loved this conversation. This has been fantastic. Should have a lot more of these.
Sure.
So for me, right, I'm a creature of habit. I love my routines. Haven't been able to go into the gym in the morning. So if you were coaching me, right, and I'm assuming there's a number of people that might be watching this in a similar boat. And if they're not, well, that's fine. It'll be all about me. what would you suggest, right? Some things to do for me, right? Getting active, get my heart rate going up, for
Yeah.
to really move forward positively through what's going on right now.
Oh, man, there's layers. So in the next 15 minutes, I'll do my best to diagnose and come up with a really good solution for you. Man, there's so many different, I guess what I need to distinguish first of all is like, where's your motivation level, right? Like, are you highly motivated? Like, give me tactics. I actually don't know what to do. Or is it like, God, I just can't get myself to go work out? Where are you at?
So for me, it's never been I don't know what to do. I've got a background in fitness, so I was a personal trainer for a very short window of my life and not a very good
so you
one.
understand movement, right? You were a CrossFit athlete, man. You understand it.
Yep. Yeah. I could move. Like I said, I was good at picking up heavy stuff. It's really just, I don't want to create my own routine. I don't want to create a habit around it. I don't want to think about, well, I need to do push-ups today, or, I've got to go do squats, right? For me, it was always about the competition and some way to measure and track what it is that I was doing. But, if I'm going to do, say, something that's manageable, right? A bite-sized chunk. I've got 15 minutes in the morning to get my heart rate up, and let's just say I'm out of shape, right?
Yep.
My motivation is, I want to start shedding weight.
Yep.
And get to a healthier spot. What's, 1 to 2 things that I could do to easily build a routine around those exercises?
Yeah, I love that. So, man, again, if it's that specific example, if I just want to shed some of the extra lbs, exercise, you don't need it. You can erase that from your brain right now. You can actually not do anything different than what you're doing right now, but just focus in on changing a couple behaviors around the foods that you eat. And I know that for a lot of people right away, it's like, I don't want to change anything. I want to lose weight. I want to do more. I want to work harder. I want to do all these things.
I don't want to change my habits, but I want to lose the weight.
Yeah. I don't want to change anything, but I want to change everything. Right.
Yeah.
That's how it goes. So there's a really cool tool that I use. It's called Hard and Easy Hard. And it's just a way of looking at change, or looking at behavior change. And so I would imagine that right now in your life, at this very moment, there are things that you do every day that are hard. Like, they're challenging. You tell me, what's it like in the day life of a real estate agent? I'm sure you work very, very hard, or maybe you don't, and you just fake it really well.
It's some agents probably fake it better than others. I've always been a very transparent kind of person, but we're dealing with the fact that we help manage wealth for individuals through real estate. It's the largest financial transaction most people are going to make in their lives. There's contracts involved. You don't do things well, there's going to be lawyers involved and money lost. And, we're talking about big issues when somebody may be about to be homeless. So you look at the wide range of what it is that we do. A lot of my day is sitting, right? It's sitting in the car, it's sitting at the desk, it's looking at a computer.
How does that feel physically for you?
Oh man, it's awful.
Yeah,
cool. It's awful.
So this is what's called an easy hard, right? It's hard. Yeah. It's awful. You don't enjoy it, but you do it, right? So there's already.
And I love what I do, right? So for anybody listening, it's not that I don't love what I do, just physically, right?
Yeah,
I feel very.
You feel down, right? Energy levels get down. Yeah, totally. And that's the thing, man. Our bodies will basically respond to what we do, right? If you start moving more, right, you're going to do it. So right away, shift your thinking around exercise away from losing lbs to, man, if I just develop like a little morning and maybe even an afternoon 10-minute routine to increase my physical and mental alertness and energy. Oh, okay. Now I can see the benefit right away in the moment versus some far off goal that's in the ether that I might lose weight doing this thing when, weight again is this whole other game. So easy, hard. So easy, hard are things that you're currently doing that are difficult or challenging. They are within your comfort zone. You have probably leveled up in your career, in your life multiple times to get to where you are. Each time it took you getting out of your comfort zone, I would imagine. I don't know that starting a business and going out on your own, it's not very safe or comfortable, right? It's risky. You're putting yourself out there.
You know what that's like, right?
I know what this totally, man. I've had to. It brings up all of my own demons every time. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. Nobody likes me. All this stuff. When really, it's that talk is there to keep us safe. So easy, hard are things that are inside your comfort zone. And as we keep doing them, it's going to keep getting you the same results, right? We figure out a way, we operate in our environment, in our patterns to get a specific outcome. And we never really audit those patterns or those behaviors to see, is this getting the outcome that I really want? Is this the best way to get the outcome? So hard behaviors are things that are still going to be challenging. They're still going to be hard, but they're going to create new results and they're going to push you beyond your comfort zone. These are things outside of your comfort zone. So for me, what would be a good example here? Dude, eating vegetables every meal, right? Trying to get some, like a fist of veggies at every time that I eat. I used to just do ground beef and rice, or like chicken and rice, or potatoes and beef. Like it was just real basic, right? But then I was like, man, I think that all this research says that vegetables are good for me, but I don't like vegetables. I don't want to prep vegetables. I just found all these reasons not to. And then when I started eating more vegetables, my digestion got better. My ability to recover from hard training got better. My energy levels got better. Everything else improved. I'm now at the point where it's a habit. I just eat vegetables damn near 90% of the time without thinking about it, right? So easy, hard. So a hard thing for you might be, everybody's different, but it might be waking up 30 minutes earlier to plan your day. It might be carving out or setting a boundary at the end of the day where you don't take calls from clients, where you're just like, nope, this is my time, it's my family time, this is my gym time, and setting those boundaries. Ultimately, what I've realized is, just wrapped up a call today with a client on this exact topic. When we set these boundaries, or when we don't set boundaries, rather, it comes from a place of scarcity that, like, if I'm not available 24/7 to the stakeholders in my life, like the clients, that they're going to not like me and they're not going to work with me. That's not true. Ultimately, what happens is they respect your time even more. They're like, oh, wow, this is a man who's like on it. He's like to the point. I know that if I reach out to him after 5, I won't hear back till the next morning. And that's okay. And it just comes down to teaching people and setting those expectations in advance. So for your exact question, what you asked was about, some workouts. Dude, there are endless apps out there that you can find and look for something that challenges you, right? Like, there's something called Animal Flow, which is like all these really weird break-dancey, like crazy things. I'm big and I don't move that way, right? So I'd much rather lift weights than do any sort of body weight anything. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I found road biking, cycling is like right up my alley, man. I'm good at it. It's fun. It checks all the boxes. So I would say just experiment, like find some programming that you might vibe with. Try it for a session or two. If you like it, there's paid options out there to where you can be part of an online community. Companies like Train Heroics, company I used to work for, they have a marketplace of training plans. There's social media influencers galore who sell, at-home fitness workouts that you can do. P90X, Beachbody, there's tons of products out there for that exact situation. So if it's a tactical problem, like I don't know what to do, that's your best solution. If it's a motivation problem, then it's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah. Well, gosh, what I've come to know, right, is that the perception of most people when they think about hiring a trainer is here comes a guy or a gal, right, that's going to hold a clipboard and they're going to be counting reps, and they're just going to push me physically. And what I loved about this conversation, and it's been my experience with the good trainers that I know, because I know a lot of good trainers and people in the health world, and then I know some people that probably should be doing something else, right? Yeah. What I know about the really good ones is it goes way deeper than just counting reps. Yeah. And okay, we're going to do buys and tries today. We're going to do a push-pull circuit or whatever that looks like. It is down to, what is your goal? What is your objective in life? Yes. And then how do we work backwards from that, right? How are we working backwards to, okay, what are the habits that I need to build around my diet? Because for me, and again, openly you've said this, my diet's always been the worst thing. Thank God for Brenna, because if it wasn't for her, I'm a meat and potatoes kind of guy. Yeah. Right. And then finish it off with some ice cream and maybe a beer or a glass of whiskey.
Yeah. The meat and potatoes aren't the problem. I'll tell you that right now.
No, it's probably the fact that I'll eat 2,000 calories in a sitting of meat and potatoes. Yeah, and then that's lunch and dinner. Yeah. So there's 4,000 calories right there. I got to do a lot of burpees to work that off.
To get that. Right? Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So it's, It's a customizable approach that goes way deeper. And this is a lot of research in psychology. It's a lot of research in human behavior. And it's a lot of research into sleeping patterns, eating patterns, habits. It's way deeper than somebody that's just got a clipboard that's counting reps.
Yeah.
And those people truly become your partner.
Totally.
As you accomplish what it is that you want to accomplish. And right now, so again, gyms aren't, it's not operating ultimately the same way that it was 6 months ago if you were in that habit. The solutions are there, right? Colby, you created this whole online realm. You had to, because things shut down and you weren't able to train the same way.
Yep.
Right. So for folks that are looking for something, the solution's there. I think the best thing that people can do is realize, okay, it's okay where I'm at.
Yep.
I'm okay. There's nothing wrong with me. And yet I want to improve this aspect of my life, whatever that might be. Right. So as I improve this aspect of my life, it ultimately helps me accomplish my goal. The trainer and the fitness and the things that you can do for folks is kind of that middle piece, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, one area gets better, like to me, I think like physical health, excluding mental, excluding emotional, physical health, I think is the one, barring any crazy diseases or anything, it's the one thing that we mostly have under our control. Our behaviors. Our behaviors directly impact our physical health. That is very well researched. When genetics are accounted for, when environment is accounted for, ultimately it comes down to a person's lifestyle choices, right? A person with shitty genetics who's like, just been totally jacked over with a terrible genetic lottery, they can change that. They can change that, and they can begin to live with heart disease, and they begin to, lead a healthier lifestyle. But ultimately what I'm getting at here is that our behaviors are what we can control. We can control them more than we think we can. And if you're able to impact your physical health and make that one area even just 10 to 15% better, whatever that means to you, everything else in your life will probably get better too. You'll probably be able to better deal with stress at work or with clients. You'll be able to work a little bit harder and be more productive so that you don't have to work as many hours. You'll be more available and engaged with your spouse and with your kids. When your physical body feels good, your digestion is good and you're healthy and you're energized, everything else just goes so much easier. The life does not have to be a grind, I'm telling you. And it's so much, it's hard enough as it is. Frankly, it's hard enough as it is with all the negative media and, all this stuff that's happening. Why not make it a little bit easier on yourself and just like take care of yourself a little bit,
Yeah, it's a whole lot easier to have energy for my son and my wife when I feel good. When I don't feel good, I don't have the energy for me. I definitely don't have the energy for them. And if I'm not my best person, right, if I'm not investing in me, right, there's no way that I can pour water from an empty bucket into my son's bucket. I can't fill his jug if mine's empty, right? So it's one, if I don't take care of my body and I don't take care of me first, I can't be the best version of me for everybody else. Right. And that's the piece that a lot of people end up missing out or sacrificing is, right now money's tight, right? And maybe I lost my job. So the first thing I'm going to cut out is my mental and physical energy boosters, right? The exercise. I'm going to cancel the gym membership. I'm going to do whatever it is.
It's unfortunate because it's a flawed value system. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like the logic in making that decision makes sense. It's like I need to cut back the money that I'm spending, right? It's a financial decision, but it's blinded to the value that the other things bring, right? So, we went through our budget and looked through like, okay, what do we need to get rid of? If anything, do we need to cut? And ultimately there was some stuff that just wasn't making sense, but I kept my jiu-jitsu membership. I wanted to make sure that my coaches were still being paid because I really value those people in my life. We kept our gym membership here and it's just like those things we really value. We value what we get from that $150, $180 a month more than we value the dollar amount. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no joke, right? It's there's those ancillary benefits or those secondary benefits that when I knock over this domino of my health, that the other dominoes get taken care of later, right? It's easier to knock those down because I've knocked down the first domino, which is my mental health, my physical health, right? As I'm going where I need to go, right?
Totally. Hey, so there was one question I saw. I just want to answer that before we wrap up.
Yeah.
on the post. And the question was around, how do I lose weight permanently? So yo-yo dieting, up and down weight gain is a really, really common thing. So whoever asked that, thank you for the question. What you need to look at is identify the patterns or the things in your life that are causing you to gain weight in the first place. And it's not, yes, you're overeating. That's probably what's causing the weight gain, but there's probably something deeper when there's a pattern. There's a stressful phase of your life, a job transition, lost a loved one. There's something that's triggering that. But ultimately, what it comes down to is just learning new skills and new behaviors around your nutrition such that these things become a habit and just kind of becomes the way you operate at that level. And so I know that's a really quick answer, but I wanted to make sure that we answered that one.
No, I love that. And my perspective on it is I've never been a fan of a diet that had an end period to it, right?
Yes.
Because if it has an ending, then I go back to my other habits. I have to create a habit around my eating or my exercise to change my life.
Mm-hmm.
Because the moment that I stop exercising or I stop eating correctly and I start going back the other way, well, now the compound effect goes the other direction.
Yeah.
Right. So my wife and I just finished up a Whole30 diet, which is
Good
30 days.
Oh,
I probably did it about 75, 80%.
Okay. All right.
And I shed some weight,
hard.
right? I
Yeah.
think I lost 13 pounds. Now that I'm back off of it, I probably have put that weight back on. And I knew that I was going to.
Yeah.
Right. Because I was hungry the whole time. I was miserable through it. It wasn't. But again, if I ate that way every day, that just became the habit that I had. I would continue to have that off. Right.
Yep.
It would no longer continue to be that yo-yo. So it doesn't have to be that extreme as a Whole30.
And then, even, man, I guess like an actionable takeaway is like really small behaviors. You focus on literally just focus in on changing one thing. Like, okay, for the next 2 weeks, I'm just going to eat vegetables every meal. And don't worry about the other shit's already habitual anyways. Don't even break any brain power thinking about it, right? And then maybe it's like, well, let me eat protein at 3 meals a day. And let me only drink 1 soda a day or whatever. Let me replace 1 soda with water. Something like that, man. Like make it really small, because if you can stack these tiny little bricks over enough time, in the course of a year, you could like make a dramatic transformation in your lifestyle. And it feels actually super duper easy because all you did was a bunch of little easy things. It never should feel, it really isn't that challenging, to be quite honest. That's why my clients have such a good success rate, is that it's not a diet. It's like, hey, this week we're just going to focus on one mindful meal a day. You're going to slow down. You're going to eat for 20 minutes. You're going to chew slowly. And that's it. And you're just going to start there.
Small
Slow
bites.
Eating.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
I get hiccups, right? I eat too fast. It's, bad habit of mine. But again, beating a dead horse, my diet's never been awesome. It is focusing, though, on one thing at a time, right? We're focusing on one. I can't change a dozen habits at a time. Yet it's amazing how the double stuffed Oreo doesn't seem so enticing when I'm currently eating broccoli.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's not like I'm mixing the two, right? It's a bad combination to eat together. So if I'm eating the broccoli, I'm not thinking about the Oreos. So it's really working multiple aspects when we focus on controlling one thing at a time. Right?
Dude, totally.
So, Colby, hey man, I loved the conversation. Want to connect again with you here soon. Hopefully, this was valuable for the people that attended. I'm going to share this on your Facebook page as well. Sounds like some folks are riding Harleys.
Dude, it's a Harley town right here. There's a bunch of biker bars and bike not studios, shops right over here.
So, it's social distancing. Before it was cool. You got the helmet on, motorcycle. You're not touching your face. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Awesome. So, thanks for doing this, man. This is awesome.
Absolutely. Would love to do it again. Let me know, for the folks that are watching, let me know if you want to connect with Colby directly to talk about your health and wellness. I know Colby's helping out some other friends of mine, but fantastic. Colby, thank you again so much. I really appreciate you.
Rock and roll, man. Thanks, guys. Take care, man.
All right.
Thanks, man.
We'll see you
later, dude.